And a record 204 million shoppers turned out between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That's according to the National Retail Federation, even as inflation and high interest rates have stuck around this year. An interesting stat, more than a quarter of Americans are doom spending to cope with the stress. Colin Evans from Evans Financial Group is here to define what doom spending is and which generation is doing it the most. Well, Colin, what exactly is doom spending and who's doing it?
We have like an emotional response to a crisis, kind of is really the first kind of start of this thing. And one of the simplest ways to relate that is everybody remembers the very beginning of COVID when that kicked off and we could not find toilet paper or water for days. And it was like a gold mine when you would come across it. Then you start to hoard it and you hold on to it. But it's an emotional response. It could, be even a political threat or an economic threat. We also saw it too every now and then, like when politics come into play, and we might see something against, I would say, the firearms community.
Oh, the ammo.
The ammo gets stockpiled. Sometimes guns become stockpiled. We're here in the South, and we have a whole lot of "you're not taking our guns today," and that's just one of those. That's exactly what it is. And that's just one of the, responses from that, and that kind of partners and fuels right into, kind of impulse behavior. And I admit I am a sucker for this. I own probably every article of clothing possible, from hats all the way down to shoes.
We see that here.
From Facebook, from Facebook ads, and things of that nature. We've all joked that we think that our phones are listening to us. It's like, I thought about a hairdryer, and now hairdryers are following me around.
We don't joke. We know it's true, Colin.
And then we see that. Well, then it turns into, the technology today is smart, and it follows us around. When we start seeing the ads pop up again, it's like, oh, there's those shoes I was looking at. There's those shoes again. Yep. Now they're again. And then we end up making the purchase that might not be beneficial to our pocketbooks when we see that. And then we look at kind of a contrast with traditional saving and behavior. And the easiest way that I can say this or relate it to is, last year when my kiddo got a $500 bonus, and she was just chomping at the bit. I mean, that was burning a hole in the pocket, aside from her wanting to save it or use it for later. Finally, with a little, kind of pep talk, it was, hey, we're going to Florida. I want you to, save some of your funds, and, so you have some fun money when you're in Florida, not, scrolling through Amazon, and she's looking at, the squishy, whatever you call the little pillow things, and
Squishmallows.
Yes.
Come on,
I was like, it's a Mars squish Mars. One of those, and she was looking at the ice maker that makes the Sonic ice. That she's like, oh, we need one of these, Dad, and she's just chomping at that. And then, but she finally did. But that can be a hard thing. It can also be feeding off of, when we're kind of down and out, and when we get in the dumps, and we had a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, or something, kind of emotional that's going on. And it does give us that quick self-satisfaction.
Something to fill that void, right?
It was funny a long time ago when we used to have a clothing store here called Rosenblast. So it used to be down by the courthouse. And something my father would do when he's like, I had a rough day or a rough week, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go buy a suit. And that was kind of his, his emotional response, was going to buy new, something new.
This is Dave?
It was Dave. That was one of his. It was his dress clothes.
I love it. I love it. You didn't answer me, Colin. Which generation is doing this the most?
Well, we're going to see, I don't want to pick on millennials too, because I think probably a little bit all of us are guilty.
Sure.
But we see it a little bit more with, the trends and the fashion. It's like what we have to have now. And, I've talked about this before. I think we live a little bit more in a now generation, as opposed to, growing up, it was, we have to save money to, get that cool item, the cool ticket, the Nintendo or the bike. But now, as we're kind of fed these things consistently through our social media, through advertising, through television, and how it follows us around, kind of flips that switch into, the impulse stuff. Can we quickly afford this? Oh, I can pay for this later. We'll maybe put this on a high interest credit card, and I'll deal with the consequences later. And that sometimes catches up to us. But we definitely see a lot more of it with our younger generation that don't have that mindset to save. And it's like, oh, I need. It's like, or is it you want?
Right. Need and want. Key right there. Well,
Absolutely,
thank you so much, Colin, for being here today and for talking to us about doom spending and what it is, and us millennials.
Absolutely. We'll see you in 2024.
Right? That's right.